Never shall innocent blood be shed, yet the blood of the wicked shall flow like a river. The three shall spread their blackened wings and be the vengeful striking hammer of God. You people have been chosen to reveal our existence to the world. You will witness what happens here today, and you will tell of it later. All eyes to the front. You must watch, dear. It'll all be over soon.
Now you will receive us! We do not ask for your poor or your hungry. We do not want your tired and sick.
It is your corrupt we claim.
It is your evil that will be sought by us.
With every breath, we shall hunt them down.
Each day, we will spill their blood till it rains down from the skies.
Do not kill, do not rape, do not steal. These are principles which every man of every faith can embrace.
These are not polite suggestions. These are codes of behavior. And those of you that ignore them will pay the dearest cost.
There are varying degrees of evil. We urge you lesser forms of filth, not to push the bounds and cross over into true corruption, into our domain.
For if you do, one day you will look behind you and you will see we three. And on that day, you will reap it.
And we will send you to whatever God you wish.
And shepherds we shall be, for thee, my Lord, for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand. May swiftly carry out thy command. So we shall flow ever forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be.
In nomine Patri.
Et Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
How far are we gonna take this, Star?
The question is not how far. The question is, do you possess the Constitution? The depth of faith to go as far as is needed?
What's going on?
Well, it's just the two of us tonight, Nick.
All right.
Oh, you know what this means? We don't have the discipline of Plutarch around to rein us back in from our wacky ideas.
That's fun.
You know what? I don't know if many of you realize that, but I, there is some truth in
There is.
that. The good
Um,
thing is everyone has different personalities, different passions, and the variations kind of work together. But sometimes without them, you get to see what would happen.
Uh-oh. Are we going to talk about our favorite people tonight?
Oh, you can weave in whatever your favorite people are.
Oh, okay.
So no one really knows the topic because it was the stream was put up before I really came up with the topic. So it's a non-specific title and a non-specific thumbnail. We're going to talk about politics, but in a different way than most people talk about them. I don't want to, well, I'm sure our opinions on what the proper politics are, what the correct view is, and what the incorrect view, what other people hold incorrect views. But that's really
I
not what I want to discuss.
thought we're talking about the red pill in women.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be a bit of
Yeah.
that in here.
I thought there's some new red pill knowledge or something that our stream supposedly says that we're talking about.
Oh, what would that be?
Wasn't it like the generalization versus the other thing?
Oh, that's a future stream.
I
I'll tell
thought
you
we
what
were
the
doing
title
that.
is.
Oh,
No, that's called thin slicing versus stereotyping.
oh.
But no one knows what thin slicing is. They know what stereotyping is. But for that stream, that one's going to be so good that I definitely want Plutarch involved because he would miss out otherwise. It's more
Mhm.
profound than tonight's stream. Tonight is just kind of a, just ranting and discussing, and nothing profound will happen tonight. So for all of our vast number of viewers, I'm telling you, nothing profound will be discussed tonight.
Oh. So we can't talk about a book and their lies?
You weave that into the discussion, and we can talk about it. Okay, so
Oh.
enough of that. Here's the topic: the left, right, left stagger. Now, to
It
put it
sounds like a guy walking down the street after he's had too much to drink.
exactly, that's exactly it. That's the image I want in your brain. And I want you to think of the general voter. He's, in the spectrum of left versus right and who he's going to vote for. Oh, he staggers over to the left. Yes, these people are going to save me. And then he gets disenchanted. And then he stumbles and staggers and weaves way the hell over to the other side on the right. Yes, this person's going to save me. And he says, no, they're not going to save me. And so, he bounces off and he's back over to the left. Gee, does this describe what happens? We get a Democrat. Democrats are in control. Oh, yes. Wonderful. They're going to save us. Oh, bullshit. Then we go over to the right. Oh, yes. Republicans. MAGA. Man, this is the ticket. We're
First,
this is
support the illegals.
yes.
Border wall.
No more wars. No more silly wars in the Mideast. I'm going to end that war in Ukraine on day one. I'm gonna cut the budget. I'm gonna drain the swamp, and then none of that happens. So then people get disillusioned. Now, it might seem I'm picking on Trump. Okay, I am. But it doesn't matter. Whatever a politician promises, whatever the previous politician promised, who was on the Democrat
There you
side,
go.
you got pissed off at him, disillusioned, and that's why you voted for Trump. Now you're pissed off and disappointed in Trump. And
Can you believe?
go ahead, Nick.
Do you think like Chamberlain will have peace in our time?
Ooh. What Chamberlain is that? Neville Chamberlain?
That was the what's the title for him? I guess before World War II broke out. I think it's
Now,
Neville Chamberlain. I think.
okay, Neville Chamberlain
could
was
be.
the Prime
I think it's
Minister
probably Neville.
of the UK
Yeah,
prior to
yeah.
Winston
Neville
Churchill.
Chamberlain. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember my
Well,
last names, not so much first names. So there you go.
okay, that's fine. You were on target and I filled in the gap. So, yeah, didn't
There
happen
you
though,
go.
did it?
We didn't have peace in our time. Well, they actually could have, but they also betrayed the Poles. So the Poles became very ridiculous, thinking Britain was going to come save them. Made guarantees to the Poles, and yeah, it didn't quite work out.
That is the ever repeating story of Poland. Poland gets betrayed all the time. Yes, Britain is going to save them. So they make a decision to it didn't work out so well. This time, oh yes, the US is all behind Poland and they're supporting Ukraine. Well, we'll see how that's going to work out. I don't think they're going to be taken over. But I don't know. The Poles are great people, but they always seem to be swayed by some external power. That's not what our topic is about tonight. It's about left to right
dagger.
to left.
Mm.
There's a lot of speculation about the upcoming midterm elections.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think Trump's going to lose his ass. The Republicans will lose their ass. That's my prediction. I could be wrong. I kind of hope I'm wrong, but
time will tell. So, in order to explore this subject, I'm going to bring up a guy I follow, watch his stuff, Gary Stevenson. He's an economist from the UK. Now, you have to know his background to understand him. He grew up working class. You can tell by his accent. He grew up poor, working class. He's a brilliant man. He went to LSE. What's LSE?
I have no idea.
London School of Economics.
Okay.
Very prestigious. He was so damn smart that there was a contest, a trading game contest. The winner got to be hired by one of the elite trading company banks in the UK. He figured out the game, not because they told him the rules ahead of time. He figured it out. And he figured out the strategy. He won the game. He got the trading job. He made millions of dollars. Was doing very well for himself. Kind of enjoying life, but it didn't really sit well with him, so he quit. Oh, he kept his money. Now he does it independently, but he has a passion for poor people and wealth inequality. Okay. I like the guy. Remember, every one of us, we are not isolated individuals. We are a product of our environment. So his observations, his experiences formed him into who he is now and his opinions. Now, I hope that his opinions are different than Nick's. I hope his opinions are different than our audience because he has some good points. And guys, don't live in an echo chamber where you only listen to guys that say the things you agree with. That's boring and you don't learn anything. So before we get into this, the situation
Okay, welcome back.
in the UK is different than the situation in the US because they have Keir Starmer in charge. He's the prime minister. And so he's a bit more left-leaning than Trump. So it's possible or probable that the UK is going to bounce from more the right to the left in the next election. Whereas the US might be going from the opposite. Okay, that's fine. But really, is there a difference? Let's find out. So let's listen to what he says. Stop me if you want to talk, Nick.
All right.
To Gary's Economics. Today we are going to explain the only way to stop the far right from taking power in your country. Okay, I'm filming this on Tuesday, the 12th of May. This will go out on Sunday, the 17th of May. We have had in the last week local elections up and down the UK. The Labour Party, our governing party, got smashed. They lost an enormous amount of seats, a big chunk on their left of the Greens, but a much bigger chunk on their right to Reform, our far-right party. It was a bit of a disaster for Labour. As I'm filming this, Keir Starmer is fighting for his life. He could be out even by the time this video goes out, or he could have resigned. I suspect he will probably last at least a few more months. We'll see if I'm eating my words by Sunday. But this is causing a lot of panic because people are starting to realize the fact, which to be honest has been pretty predictable for a couple of months, and something which I predicted even a couple of years ago, even before Labour came in, that the far right are broadly the most popular party in this country, and if nothing changes, they are going to win the next election. And
okay, let me point something out, because Americans might not be familiar with this terminology. You have Labor and I don't know, what is it, the Tories? The right, the business side. Yeah, okay. Well, this is not different from U.S. politics, well, at least historically. You had the Democrats. That was the party of labor. And you had the Republicans.
Right.
That was a party of business. Okay, those sides were always, those were the two sides. Okay, it's still that way in the UK. Now the Democrats have kind of morphed into something else. We'll get into that later. You have anything to say, Nick?
I mean, they morphed into Marxists and flamers.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Kind of Marxist, more progressive, more
Not a
about
spectrum. It's a
minority
spectrum, but,
feminism, DEI, embrace the immigrants, help the downtrodden, whatever, but not about labor, not about the working class man. No, he doesn't matter in the Democrat Party anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's continue.
That is not anything which is at all unique to the UK. This is happening all across the world. I was in France last week. It's happening in Germany. They're already in power in the US. They're already in power in Italy. So today I'm going to explain to you very simply how to stop the far right from winning power in your country. And before I start, I should just mention, because whenever I do videos like this, I'm always really aware that lots and lots of people, both here in the UK and across the world, are voting for the far right, and they want the far right to win. And I really, really don't want this channel to be a place where people voting for the far right feel they're not welcome. So I want to be really, really clear. If you are thinking about voting for the far right, you're welcome here. This is not a politically factional channel. This is about economics. This is about inequality. This is about living standards. I think if the far right get in, it will be terrible for inequality. It will be terrible for living standards. We're going to put a message for far right voters at the end. But for now, we are going to get into the business. For those of you who don't want the far right to win, how can you stop the far right from winning the next election here in the UK and in your country as well? Okay, so I've got a number of things here which you need to do if you want to stop the far right from winning in your country. But to be honest, normally I do a big build up to the sort of the answer in these videos. But I'm going to come in straight away with what I think is number one. Really, if you come away from this video with anything, this is the clearest and most simple and most important thing which you need to understand if you want to stop the far right from winning in your country. Living standards have been falling and have fallen quite a long way for nearly 20 years now here in the UK and across the Western world. You need to recognize that and you need to understand that, because that is driving politics and that is driving how people think about politics in a big way. That has happened in quite an unequal way, where people towards the top have in many cases seen their living standards improve, but the vast majority of people, increasingly the bottom 50, 60, 70%, have seen significant deterioration, especially if they think about future generations and how their kids will do. This is driving everything, okay? At the moment, there is only one political grouping, political ideology, political group in the world, which is giving a clear and simple message that says, we understand your living standards are falling, we have an answer as to why they are falling, and we are going to tell you how to fix it. At the moment, there is only one political group in the world which is answering that question in a simple way, and that is the far right. Now, if I was to go out here on the street now today, pull someone to the side and say, listen, what is Labour's answer to why living standards are falling? What is the Democrats' answer in the US to why living standards are falling?
I don't know.
Whatever country you're...
Okay.
I think the Democrats are doing that with their color revolution that they have planned. They want the universal basic income and just import a bunch of people, and maybe you own a house or maybe you don't. I don't know if they solve that, but they're trying to solve it. I don't think it'll work out. I don't think it'll work out in the end.
No, bullshit. I'm not going there with you, Nick. Nick, do you feel like
I don't think it's going to work.
Your living standards have improved?
Hell no.
Do you think
It's
your
not just
living
living
standards
standards.
will improve?
No,
Do you think your job prospects will improve?
no.
Okay. Did Trump sell that to people?
Yeah.
We're going to make America great. We're going to bring manufacturing back. You're going to be able to get a good job. Did he sell that to the working class
No.
people?
Yeah, he
He
sold it.
did. He didn't deliver, but he sold that
Well,
message.
like on most everything else he promises, he doesn't deliver. But hey, he's playing
Okay.
5G chess.
Sure. Now,
No, he's
on the
not.
Democrat side, are they addressing that issue for the working class man to provide a better opportunities for him? For average women, that yes, you can actually find a husband who has a decent job and will marry you.
No, they're not really addressing that. I mean, they're proposing a UBI, universal basic income, but I don't think it's not gonna work, and it's not gonna solve any problems because it's also not just he's wrong here. It's not just living standards. Your whole society's in shambles. You have no shared culture, no shared religion, no stable family unit.
More welfare. UBI is more welfare.
Correct.
That is not improving living standards.
No, it's not.
And
I don't
think
I'm saying he's
I don't
wrong.
think
That it's not just living standards. Is that even though it is living standards, but it's lack of a stable family, lack of decent women that you want to wife up, jobs, of course, and what was the other thing I
okay.
mentioned?
Yeah,
Oh, lack of
yeah,
shared culture
yeah.
and religion.
Okay, you're throwing in more topics than this. Remember, he's just on point
Okay.
number 1.
Okay, all right. I'm right.
But okay, so we have established that living standards and jobs are important. And Trump and the Republicans sold us a dream. We voted for them. The dream has not come about. Now we're disillusioned. So Gary is right, is correct that the far right did latch onto this topic, and labor or the Democrats didn't have a convincing story.
No, you had Cackler. You had guy who didn't remember where he was at, and you had Cackler.
Yeah.
Cackling
Okay.
old
So
lady versus Trump. I
let's
mean,
keep
there you
going.
go.
So far, we're kind of out saying, hey, shit's the same in the UK as in the US.
Watching from the centre left, the traditional centre left, centre right parties, what are their explanations for why living standards are falling? I don't think even 1 in 10 people would be able to tell you what the answer is. If you want to understand why the far right are winning elections across the world and why the far right are going to keep winning elections across the world, it is as simple as this. People are legitimately worried about falling living standards, and there is only one group of politicians here in the UK and across the world that is providing a clear and simple answer about why living standards are falling and how to fix it. As long as that continues, the far right will keep winning elections across the world. So how do you change that? Very, very simply, the other groups of people in this country and across the world, and I want to be clear, in the majority of countries, including this country, a decent majority of the public don't want the far right to win. They are polling first, but on sort of 26, 27% of the vote, which is like which is a minority. The other group of people in the country, if you want to stop the far right from winning, you need to coalesce on a clear and simple message on the economy, on living standards, on how you are going to stop living standards from falling. It is as simple as that. And I'm going to make a pitch to you here and now. If your message on how you are going to stop living standards from falling and on how you understand that living standards are falling is not about inequality, is not about billionaires, is not about taxing the richest people in society, is not about tax wealth, not work, then be honest with me. What the is it? Seriously, if that is not going to be the message that the left and the centre coalesce around on the economy and living standards, what is your message going to be? Because I've been following politics and politicians for many, many years in this country and in other countries, and they seem to have been trying to sell a message which is about productivity and about growth and about efficiency and about investment, and that obviously sounds fantastic to people with economics degrees. But people in the street, the general public, have heard this exact message on the economy from political parties and politicians on the centre left and on the centre right again and again and again for the last 20 years. And every single time they have voted in a politician that is doing this kind of economics, technobabble, efficiency, growth, they have seen consistently year after year after year after year falling living standards. And they are not going to vote for that again. So if you...
Okay.
The lady doth protest too much, right?
Productivity and advancement.
Oh, sounds like good HR skills. Sounds like good HR skills that doesn't do shit.
Nick, when productivity of the worker increases, does the worker get paid more money?
Oh no,
or
no.
Does the benefit flow into the owner?
The owner, they might get a pizza party.
Okay, so if a worker does not have enough money, but the owners have tons and tons of money, and the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer, could there be a wealth inequality problem here? Can we get more money for the poor without somehow adjusting the playing field?
Well, there's a thing that nobody's talking about, which is this inflation, which doesn't affect so much the producers. It affects the workers.
Sure.
Then you have the taxation.
Okay. But
Nick, there's some things you can do.
Nick,
that really would help.
Your situation is more like a working man now. Well, you're doing okay, but yeah, you got taxes, you have limited opportunity, and the bulk of your money is going to pay child support. Okay.
Right.
Similar to a lot of men. But really, listen to the Democrats, Nick. Forget about your situation. We need to focus on diversity, equity, inclusion, empowerment of women.
I'm here with that shit.
All kinds of stuff. You're not that important, Nick. Focus on the big social issues, would you?
Those are the big social issues. Women in the workforce destroys my potential income. I have to deal with annoying Karens and all their stupid shit. You have boss babe, unmarriageable women. You have promiscuous women without restraint. Oh, then you have the foreigner coming and taking your jobs.
Okay,
Nick.
Oh,
by the way, it doesn't go back to this country so much as it goes back to the other country where they bring in more frauds in. And they bring in their shit-stained religion.
Okay, Nick, enough of that. Surely the Democrats care about you and they have a solution to this. What is that solution?
Democrats have a solution for this?
That's the right answer. Gary just said the center and the left have no fucking solution. Okay.
I mean, besides like some sort of Marxist takeover that will fail.
The right has a solution. Donald Trump had a solution. He promised us shit that he was going to fix it. He didn't fix it. Okay. That's a separate issue. But he had a narrative that said, I'm going to fix it. The left and the center has no narrative.
And if they want to win, this would be the easiest way to win.
Okay, that's why Gary's analysis is great. He's telling you dumb fucks on the left, pull your head out of your ass. Here's what you got to come up with.
Steve, this sounds really familiar to a podcast. About a year ago, we did an episode with Plutarch, The Keys to the Future, talking about these same things. Do you remember that?
I do.
There you go.
Well, it's confirmation from a different place.
Yep.
Okay, let's keep going. This is a total of 40 minutes long, so let's see how far we get.
Want these people to vote for you and not vote for your opponents who are delivering a simple, different message on the economy. You yourself need to have an idea which is not this idea which the public have clearly seen fail for 20 years. If it is not inequality, tax the rich, living standards, what the fuck is it? It has to be tax wealth, not work. And I've got to put this in the context of what is currently happening here in the UK. As I'm saying, I've been engrossed this morning in seeing whether or not our...
Go ahead.
It says tax the rich. I kind of agree because we all know if you hire enough lawyers and tax accountants and you're rich, you'll find ways not to pay a cent in taxes.
He said something else that's subtly different. He said tax wealth, not income.
Okay.
Because these people have already accumulated a huge amount. They own most of the stocks. The ownership of stocks of the upper 10% versus the lower 90%. It was not this lopsided in the 70s. Oh yeah, okay, rich still owned more. But the ownership of the companies, the disposable wealth, the accumulated savings of the poorer people, or the lower 90%, let's say, has steadily eroded. So at this point, as you kind of alluded to, taxing the income of the upper level people at a higher rate doesn't adjust things because they got attorneys, tax loopholes, and in many cases, they have schemes where they pay less in dollar amount of taxes per individual than a person making 100 grand. If you're making 100 grand, 150 grand a year, you are not the people we're talking about here. I'm talking about people who have assets of $50 million and more. That's the distinction. Not the guy making 100, 200 grand. No, you're not that much different than me. except you might make twice as much.
All right, we can keep going.
So, I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
oh, you know, again, you don't have to agree exactly. You can have a different take on it, but you got to admit, Gary does have a point here.
Prime Minister will resign. I think he will survive the week, but I'm very confident he will not survive. Well, I'm increasingly confident he will not survive the year. Even if he does, we are going to get a new Prime Minister here in this country in the next 18 months. I'm very, very confident of that. It will probably be much, much sooner than that. This is a fantastic opportunity for the Labour Party to come in and signal that they are willing to do something significantly different on the economy. And if that new Prime Minister, whoever he or she is, be it Burnham or Rayner or Streeting, does not come in with a message that says, I am significantly different to your previous Prime Minister, I am significantly different to Starmer, I'm going to do something significant on the economy, then that new Prime Minister will become rapidly unpopular, just like Starmer did, as I predicted, just like Sunak did, as I predicted. All right? You need to have a message about how you are different on the economy. And I'll be clear, I'm here. You can email us at any point. I would love to speak to the teams of Streeting and Rayner and Burnham. You need to have a pitch on the economy that says you're different and we're here to help you. Okay, so that's the most important thing. You know, if you take one thing away from this video, that needs to be it. You have an opposition that is growing in power, that has a clear and simple message on how they're going to stop living standards from falling. Until you guys coalesce on one message that is simple and clear and easy to understand on living standards, you will lose. Okay, number 2. The next thing here is, I've written here, probably should have written this in more formal language. We need to stop the beef between the left and the centre. All right, listen, I like to think of myself as not politically factional, all right? I'm an economic single issue campaigner. I campaign on inequality. I think if we don't deal with inequality, living standards will keep falling. I think that is increasingly being shown to be true by reality. And I seem to have been painted by many as the political left. And in this country and across the world, my ideas have been much better embraced by the political left than they have the political centre. But I think this is a good time to sort of sit and look at these results. And I think we have to accept, not just here in the UK, but across the world, if I'm being totally honest, in the context of a growing, surging global far right, I don't think the centre can win without the left. And if I'm totally honest, I don't think the left can win without the centre. I think this is the way that it is. And, you know, I understand there's a lot of bad blood, and often there's reasons for that, why people on the left don't like people on the centre. And I'm sure there's good reasons why people on the centre don't like people on the left. The far right will be in control of this country in 3 years, unless we together find some way to work together to stop them. And I know, not just in this country, but across the world, the left and the centre disagree on many, 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 many things. Unless we can find one thing that we agree on, which I think should be living standards, inequality, the economy, and we get together and fight for it, then the far right is going to win in this country and across the world. And for me, it's frustrating in a way, because I actually think in many ways the left offers the exact thing that the centre needs. And I think it is true that the centre offers the exact thing that the left needs. That I've been much more sort of welcomed by the political left in this country than I have by the political centre. In many cases, some of the political centre and Labour are quite hostile to me, whereas obviously the Greens here and Zach Polanski have, and even before Zach Polanski, they've really embraced wealth taxes. But sometimes
Okay, I want to draw a parallel here. Not quite in the same way, but let's look to the Christian people, the Christian churches. Now, I don't want to draw the parallel of left versus center. I want to draw a parallel of more principled, moral, traditional Christians to more secular, cultural Christians. Now, we
Okay.
all want people to be saved and we want to get along. But is there infighting between amongst Christians? Are there factions amongst Christians? And do they spend all their time bickering back and forth without a cohesive agreement, and therefore they become ineffective in the larger world?
It's almost as if the government planned that. But yes.
Oh, so the center group didn't really like you, did they, Nick?
Oh, hell no.
So now they spend more time attacking you and people like you than they do promoting Christianity in general. Would that be true?
What do they promote except more watered down, lukewarm, nasty doctrine to appease women?
Okay, so the point is you can't agree with them either.
Hell no.
So is Christianity failing for the same damn reason they can't come up with a central message to agree upon and work towards the same goal?
No, we had those. It's called the confessions, but apparently they can't even follow the confessions. You know,
Okay, so infighting is a real big issue. I'm not. I'm okay. I have my
confession of faith.
perspective
So.
on who's right and who's wrong. Okay, yeah, I have my perspective, but the point isn't who's right and who's wrong. You're just not going to accomplish diddly squat unless you can make some compromise, some peace, some cohesive central focus on where to go.
That's kind of what's
That's what he's.
happening. That's actually what's happening to us younger guys in the church, and all the people in the institutions of power hate it. But you know what? They're losing their attendance in seminaries and all their institutions because we all know they're full of shit. They're compromised, effeminate cocksuckers.
Okay, so there's no agreement. There's no
Hell
working
no.
together.
And they're losing, and we're winning. And you know what? We've agreed, kind of informally. Hey, we have these big issues. Let's focus on these huge issues, and try to have a home again. Because if we don't fight now, we won't have a home.
Okay, so when it comes to non-Christian, the political center versus the political left, which party, which of those is ultimately going to prevail?
Which is you said the center or the left?
The
Political
center
party?
or the left? Which of
Okay.
those two is going to prevail?
I think. Well, it depends if the left mass is able to follow through on their Marxist takeover. If not, the center will win.
But the left has more passion and commitment.
Exactly. But they have to take power. If they don't seize
And
power, the center wins. Yeah.
I think left to their own, they will gain power because more and more people are dissatisfied with the way things are going. And if the left doesn't mean they have the right answer, but if they're proposing a solution and nobody else is, they're going to gain followers. The left will grow. The center, they just go along to get along. They never really have solutions. And a lot of the center is status quo people. I mean, boomers. And the center is going to lose in percentage adherents, and there's a good chance that the left is going to grow.
I agree.
Doesn't mean the left is going to have the correct answer. Doesn't mean I'm going to agree with the answer on the left. We just have to understand what is likely to happen.
Well, the kids they've been raising have been raised under very leftist public schools. So I mean, it makes sense for that to prevail versus more centrist positions.
Okay, well, let's keep going.
Worry when I look at the left that they're not like serious and practical about let's really make sure we win the election. Let's really make sure that we like design these taxes correctly. Let's really make sure that we like dot all the I's and cross the T's on this and have everything ready. But then when I look at the center, what I see is a group of people who are like almost like compulsively obsessed with dotting I's and crossing T's to the extent that they will be like almost pathologically unable to consider even the idea of doing something like seriously different on the economy. So you have a group of people who are like very ideological and really keen to do something radically different, but don't seem to have that like ruthless focus on practicality and winning. And then you have a group of people who seem only to want to be practical and to win, but are like totally refusing to consider anything that seems in any way radically different. So, you know, we have a big structural problem in the economy here. And it seems to be only the left that is willing to accept that. This is exactly what the centre needs. As I said before, the centre needs a political message which is clear on the economy, but it absolutely needs to also be clearly different from Starmerism and clearly different from Bidenism, because people have seen these like technocratic, economicsy, centrist messages fail again and again. If you want that, the left has that. But, you know, I think we also have to be realistic. You know, I'm really proud of, you know, the work that Zach Polanski has done, like running with the message of the wealth tax. And they have made massive strides forward electorally in the last, you know, just 1 year. And it's amazing. And, you know, if they think they can continue that, like absolutely good luck to them. But when I look at the local election results from last week, we have to be realistic. I don't think at the moment they're in a situation where they can win, you know, in places like Wigan, in places like Sunderland, in places like much of the north of England. So I think if the left want to win, and I'm not saying they don't continue to compete with the centre, but if the left want to win and they don't want the far right to win, they need to start being open to figuring out some way that we can work out common ground with the centre. And if the centre want to win and they need to stop collapsing like they are clearly collapsing, they need to be open to some of the new ideas being offered by the left. You know, and it's incredibly frustrating here, you know, because, you know, I am not super politically factional. And I don't feel like really I sit naturally in either of these groups. But what I see here is two groups that, in theory at least, want to stop inequality from increasing, sort of tearing each other to pieces, while the far right, who are funded by billionaires, in many cases are billionaires themselves, have a literal policy to come in and cut tax on billionaires and increase inequality, are going to win. Yeah, I'm reminded of the quote from my brother that I used in a video last year when I asked him, you know, how can we stop the far right from winning? Where he said, very simply, relentless and aggressive pursuit of common ground. And unity. That's it. Where he said, relentless and aggressive pursuit of common ground and unity. Look, I know that there's a lot of bad blood between these two groups, but you're going to have to sit there and ask yourself, do you want the far right to take control of your country? And sometimes achieving important things is more important than the grievances you may have with maybe people who did treat you a bit. But the fact is, I think this is going to be needed, not just in this country, but across the world. I was in France last week and it's the same situation. If the left...
You were saying something?
I think this is just the problem of this weird system of democracy. You know, he says the billionaires and the inequality. I'm like, you know, we used to have something called the hierarchy, kind of a monarchy. and you had titles of nobility, and being in that position required certain benefits to the people under you. And of course, you each had duties towards one another. Could it go bad? Yes, there's times when it went bad in each direction. You had peasant revolts and you had really tyrannizing kings, etc. But noblesse oblige.
Well, okay, there's 4 groups of people.
All right, what are they?
The monarch,
The monarch, the nobility,
the nobility, different group,
the
separate.
church.
Nope, I'm not even going to include the church in.
Oh, you're not going to church. Okay. The bourgeois or
Nope,
burgers?
rich merchants.
That's like the bourgeoisie or burgers, yeah.
Okay,
In a way. Burger could also mean city dweller, but yes.
and the serfs,
Okay, cool.
peasants. Okay, so let's bring these down to 3 people. The monarch was pretty much always separate. The people loved the monarch. The monarch's job was to watch over the people. The nobility, kind of watch over their people, but the monarchs or the nobility were a separate class, kind of intertwined with the rich merchants. So they tended to exploit the people. Sometimes monarchs did too. But the monarch also ruled over the nobility, and he had the people behind him. But the monarch, when he wanted to fight war, he needed the support of the nobility to fund the war. So there was this balance here. What happens when you remove the monarch? All you have is the rich oligarchs who are pulling the strings on everything. Who rides herd on the rich merchants and nobility and oligarchs when there is no monarch? Oh, we have a president. Well, guess who buys the president? They contribute to his campaigns. They fill his cabinets. He's dependent on them for his very existence in ways that a monarch never was.
Yeah, he can even buy seats in an election through them too. And they don't have to be of this country. They can be of another country as long as the money's flowing.
They always have been. But
are you talking about them and their lies?
No, I'm just saying there's always been money and rich people from other areas that have come in. Now you're thinking about a group in particular. Yes, Nick.
They're part of it. They're part of it. I don't know if they're all of it, but they're part of it.
But the monarch, we do not have a monarch that is not beholden to anybody for his seat of power. Oh, yeah, he can't go off the rails too far because he can be assassinated. He can be strung up. He can lose his head, as has happened many times in history. So the monarch can be a tyrant, but there's even checks and balances on a tyrant. There are benefits to a monarchy that do not exist in a democracy or even a republic. Is that what you're trying to get at, Nick?
Well, yeah. Well, even our early republic had requirements of you had to be a landed gentry or landed man, right?
Sure.
And other things, but people that generally were invested in the system. And was it perfect? No, but you had people with a shared culture, shared identity. Was it always the same identity across the board? Exactly, no. But they were all generally Christians. They had a generally Western, Northern European culture, generally same belief system. Was it perfect? No.
Has any society or government ever been perfect?
No. Well, yes. For a while. Depending on how
When
many
was
days you think Oh, in Genesis chapter 2, before chapter 3.
okay? What was the
Yeah.
form there? What was the form of government?
Well, God was in charge, and his vice regent was Adam, and he had his helpmeet Eve.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Adam had children.
But afterwards.
Okay. So let's talk about the afterwards. Who was king?
All right. Afterwards, what?
After the fall, who was the king?
Adam.
What?
Adam.
Absolutely. Adam was the father. Adam had dominion. Adam is the model for all kings. Everything was under Adam's domain. Yes, he had a wife, he had children, but it all existed under Adam. And then when Adam died, well, ideally the right would have fell to his eldest son, but yeah, things got complicated. So it probably fell to one of his sons. Well, it certainly did. And then we see this template follow through the lineage of men from Adam through King David. And then King David was the king. Then the lineage of King David through to Jesus Christ. There is a lineage there. It's recorded. There is a model of kingship, of authority, of dominion, father to son, to son, to son, to son, until we had Jesus Christ, who it was very important that he come from the lineage of David. And David came from the lineage of Adam. It was all monarchy.
Well, you had judges.
Okay, well,
They didn't.
different.
They didn't.
Different. So, what does that prove?
Well, it was more elder rule, and God raised up certain judges, but
Okay.
didn't really work very well.
And did the lineage stop during the period of Judges?
No.
No. There was a king.
Yeah, in the line of Judah.
He just wasn't in power.
Yep.
The lineage continued. The style of government changed for a while where the king wasn't in charge. Big whoop. And as you say, it didn't work out so good.
No, it didn't.
So return to a monarchy.
The Return of the King.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just
Well,
saying that, we can keep going. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go piss while this is playing.
And the censor cannot break bread with each other, then the far right is going to win. All right, and number 3 is when you are in power, you can't afford to fail. So the reason I pointed this out is because my point number one was you need to have a clear message on the economy, on living standards. But obviously, this is like a focus on messaging, and I get quite frustrated sometimes when I look at politics. I sometimes feel like these failing centrist political parties, like when I hear what the people in Labour say, and when I watch like The Rest is Politics, which is like our main like centrist political podcast in this country, I kind of feel like that they constantly think that their problem is like a comms problem, like a communications problem. Meanwhile, what you have is like a bunch of rich guys saying we've got a comms problem, whilst like 60% of the country can't afford to feed their kids, right? And it's like, listen, yes, of course, you need to have a clear message on the economy, but also, crucially, you need to stop living standards from falling, which means you need to be ready to actually take action on the economy. And I think a massive part of the problem that Labour have now is that they didn't recognize before they came in that inequality was a problem. And the reason why I was able to like very accurately predict the collapse of Labour and the collapse of Starmer, I watched that video before I filmed this video, was because I recognized that these guys had a massive economic problem that they were not looking at. So, the reason I knew that Starmer would collapse is the same reason that I know if you get on a boat with a hole in the bottom, you're going to fucking sink, right? They were not fixing that problem. And this brings me to number 4, which is you need to start doing the prep work now. I think sometimes like the conversation about wealth taxes in this country in particular has moved into a space which is like really, if I'm honest, quite idiotic. Where I go and do an interview where I say, listen, growing inequality of wealth is a massive problem. If you do not deal with that growing inequality of wealth, you are not in any way going to be able to stop living standards, not even from not falling, but from not falling quickly. Like you need to deal with this problem. And then people turn around.
Do you agree, Nick?
You got to deal with it. Absolutely.
Is the left or the center at all recognizing it or dealing with it?
I think some might recognize it on the left if you talk to them. Yeah, they do recognize the problem.
No. You're talking about individuals. I'm asking you.
Okay, yeah.
The institutions on the left or the center, is this being discussed? Formulated.
Yes, but not for.
I'm not talking about individual here and there people.
Okay, Steve, I'll say yes, it's being addressed, but for women and all the other people on the rainbow and different colors, except for white, Protestant, or even Catholic males.
Okay, will it work?
No.
Why?
It's not working. Because the white people that have the most vested interest in this country are the ones being screwed.
No. You're not at the foundation.
Oh, and then what am I missing then?
The productivity comes from men, from fathers, from
Did I not say males? I must
the curse of Adam. Yep. You shall toil and work and eat by the sweat of your brow. That is a foundation. I don't care what the fuck you promise anybody else. If you don't get the foundation right and allow men to work and earn enough money to provide for themselves and a wife and family. Don't worry about the wife and family because men have a strong desire to have a wife and family. You provide a decent standard of living in the right environment and everything else is going to work out. But you got to leave enough meat on the bone so the average man can live.
Hmm.
And Gary, Gary just said, you got to start laying the groundwork for this message. You got to warm people up to this idea. I don't see the left warming people up to the simple concept of wealth inequality and the fact we on the left, the Democrats, the center Democrats, the left Democrats, the labor, the representative of average, middle class, working class people, we have a solution. We need to adjust to wealth inequality. We need the foundation of this country is the family. We need to provide an environment so a family can be established and can thrive and not be torn apart by divorce. They're not doing that. No one's laying the groundwork for that. So, you know what? The left is going to promise a chicken in every pot. And it's going to sound wonderful, and all the women are going to vote for him, and the men are going to say, oh, what the fuck? Give me that chicken, too. I'll sit on my ass, play video games. You're not really giving me a solution that I can buy into, so go along.
Okay. Because you know why?
Why?
You have to be able to raise a family. And guess what? The world has been, I know some people say, I'm not red pill, but you're kind of red pilled on the reality of the dangers of legal marriage in the West. You could be the best guy in the world, the most faithful guy, working hard, providing, protecting, guiding your family, going to church regularly. And you know what? Still, by the virtue of doing that, you're actually worse off if she decides to leave you. Make that make sense. And all your legacy with your kids and everything, you can flush it down the toilet. You might get lucky and they'll talk to you when they turn adults, but the damage probably has already been done.
Yep. Okay, so I'm done. Okay, we're at 2 hours and 15 minutes in. I want to kind of
an hour and 15. We're at an hour and 15 in.
Hour and 15 minutes? Oh, shit. No, I guess we can listen to a bit more. Or we can kind of freewheel it and talk about the 3 things that I narrowed it down to. Let's do that. Then we'll see if we want to go back to Gary.
All right.
Okay, so it seems like we bought into the message from the right because they had a message. Now we're so pissed off in general with the right and what's going on there. Yeah, we're going to lean back to the left.
There's no solutions there either, though.
Not because they have a solution, just because we're so pissed off at the right. But then we're going to be disillusioned with the left. And next time around, we're going to go back to the right. Because the left doesn't really have a message.
Seems like it's almost by design.
Oh, there's one other factor that I know you might have an opinion on.
Oh.
What?
Okay.
Put
the coin in.
This idea of wealth inequality, that's one issue dividing the country. What is the other big issue dividing the country that starts with a capital Z?
No, Zionism.
Oh, Oh man, you came up with that one pretty fast.
Yeah. Christian Zionists or the combo of, that group and their beliefs for Israel, and then the
Okay.
boomer Christianity that believes that, we need to reestablish the temple in Jerusalem and then usher in the
Okay.
rapture and the
Oh,
second coming of Jesus and all
yeah,
that.
okay. That's all background stuff. I have an opinion on that, but that's not what I want to focus on. Right now, the US is at war. Well, we don't officially call it a war, but
Yeah, but we are.
we're at odds with Iran, and we bombed the shit out of them, but they didn't give in. They got a whole bunch of missiles. We're running short on ammunition, but yet we're not giving up. And Nick, how the hell is this actually benefiting the US?
Besides being able to test our military equipment, I mean, that's about it. But
Is there any benefit to the US? Are we improving our stature in the world?
there's a
No.
benefit in U.S. energy for oil and gas. Sure,
Mm,
prices are up.
yeah, that's a small percentage. There's no fucking benefit to the US for this war. We're not even counting the cost that we're spending on this.
Since when have we counted the cost?
Well, we
Just
don't.
numbers.
We are spending money willy nilly. We are depleting our stocks of weapons and ammunition. I don't see any benefit to the U.S. Hey, it's costing me, and all of you guys more money to fill up your gas tank. Your food prices are going up. We are not really experiencing shortages of consumer items or materials yet. They're coming. We're not experiencing shortages of food yet. They're coming because we don't have enough fertilizer. Oh, gas prices have only gone up, a couple bucks a gallon. It's not that bad yet. Oh, wait, we just sold a whole bunch of our petroleum to other countries because those oil people who are making a lot of money could make more money selling it than keeping it here, which means our shortage is growing here. So the prices are only going to go up. It's not benefiting the US. Why are we in this silly war?
Well, because most of our Congress is bought out by APAC.
Would that be American Israeli Public Affairs Committee?
Political action. I thought it was political action committee, but whatever.
Nope.
I could be
Nope.
wrong.
Nope. You're wrong.
All right.
You think it's a PAC, Political Action Committee. It's Public Affairs Council because they're a non political body, Nick. They are not governed by the Foreign Interest Act because they're not a political body. And they have enough clout that they wouldn't fall under that category.
What a crock of
But
shit.
yet, okay, well, that's your opinion. But it seems like a certain prime minister of a certain small Mideastern country, Netanyahu, has met with President Trump 7 times, come over here 7 times in the past 15 months. And for the past 40 years, has been trying to get the U.S. to go to war against Iran and spouting the same message that Iran is months, if not weeks, away from developing the nuclear bomb. No, this is not a recent message. It dates back to at least 1982 or something like that. And it seems to be that that's the reason. Now, doesn't matter if you agree with me or not. For our listeners, it doesn't matter if you agree with me or not. You can say I'm full of shit. I have it wrong. Doesn't matter. I'll tell you why it doesn't matter. A lot of people, a lot of young men agree with me. At least to the point where this is stupid. I'm not signing up for our military to go fight for another country and put my life on the line for another country. I'm not doing it. I don't care. You know what? You're on your own. I'm not signing up. So that makes it a big issue. And there is a certain faction, boomers, high concentration of boomers and evangelicals that are the supporters of Zionism, Christian Zionism, Israel, the young people, and non evangelical Christians are not really on board with that. So we have a divide here. This is a big divide.
Look,
And-
Steve, I care about my country. Why should we have so much vested interest in another?
You are capturing the sentiment of millennials and younger.
And you don't have to be like, oh, I hate Israel or anything like that. You just say, look, that's not my country. It's kind of weird that we have all this vested interest in this country on the other side of the world, or somewhat on the other side of the world, you could say.
Well, right. And that's an important distinction. This is not a divide between those who love Israel and those who hate Israel. That is so silly. It's a divide between those who love Israel and those who are indifferent or say, you know what, let them take care of themselves. It's not my job. There is no hate there. It's just like, hey, you know what? You do you. I'll do me. I'm not your protector. I see no reason to do that. You deal with your own crap. That's not hate.
No. No entangling alliances like George Washington talked about. I think we have an entangling alliance, foreign entangling alliance. Yeah, I don't think it's in America's best interest.
So here is, this is kind of interesting too. It used to be, at one point, there were Zionists on the Democrat side and on the Israel side and on the Republican side, kind of intermixed. Well, it still kind of is that way, but now it's kind of being sifted out to the Zionists are on the Republican side. And the non Zionists who say, no, we shouldn't get involved, are on the Democrat side. That's interesting. But it leaves a lot of people like you, Nick, in a very difficult situation. And why would that be, Nick?
Why is it? I mean, I guess just I don't quite fit in with my own supposed party, you know?
I will articulate it. You're only kind of mostly Republican because your Christian morals put you on the side where you think Republicans are more moral than the Democrats. But now the Republicans are more Zionist leaning. Well, you don't really fit there. You're more kind of Democrat there. So I'd go over their side. Oh, the Republicans, they're more about elite, oligarch, concentration of wealth. I think there should be more wealth equality, average working class people, middle class should have a bigger share and have enough money to raise a family. Yeah, okay, that's maybe on the Democrat side. But damn, those Democrats, I just can't be there with them because they're advocating abortion, transgender, DEI, illegal immigrants. Oh my God, they're just I can't be there. But I like some of their stuff. So you, among many people, are really struggling with this because all this bullshit woke politics, that's what they're hanging their hat on, and they're missing the boat of what's important.
More or less. Yeah, we've had those conversations. And the Democratic Party is not what it used to be at all. They have a little remnant there when you start talking about having enough income to raise a family for the workers. But they kind of stopped doing that already, though, Steve. They're not really about that anymore.
Oh, I know. That's the problem.
And so, I think what was it? The Republicans had a lot of the people that you could call more old school type thinking Democrats to think, oh, well, this might be good for American jobs and my own family to make America great again and bring some wealth into my family and have a stable career and blah, blah, blah.
Did
Nope.
that ever work?
Nope. Not happening. Nope. Didn't work. Betrayed again.
Okay, so number one issue, wealth inequality, or basically a good family wage job for a man. I did not say a living wage job for a man. No, I don't believe in a living wage. Nick, what's the difference between a living wage and a family wage?
The living wage is just for like one person.
Exactly. Men, you do not want a living wage. You want a family wage. A family wage is enough to raise a family on, which, damn it, it means that men need to make more money than women. They do because they work more specialized jobs and put in more hours. But equal pay for equal work? Well, first of all, there is no such thing as equal work. And equal pay is also stupid because men need to make more money because the women always look for a man to provide for them. And it's the man's money that pays for the family. So if you want a viable long-term society, men need to earn more because men are actually very generous with their earnings. Women, not so much.
The family unit led by the father is the most basic unit of society, of all institutions. Right. So if you don't, if you destroy the family, you destroy society, you destroy everything.
So to reiterate, there's three things. We haven't talked about number three. Exactly. We haven't named it. Number one is jobs or wealth inequality. Same damn thing. Number two is Zionism is dividing this country. What is number three, Nick?
Was it in your notes?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to pick them up, pull them up again.
No, you
Oh,
don't have
well,
to
I
pull it
should
up.
have known that. We've been talking about it. Feminism.
Yes, feminism. It's kind of men, just what the hell is going on with women today? Can I find a good woman
No,
to wife up? Can I find a woman who will stay married to
maybe,
me?
but
Uh,
no, but maybe.
well, we hope.
Less than
We hope.
3%, according to Cappy. Less than 3%, according to Cappy.
But men are so tired of looking for a woman and being rejected and then finding a Karen who has an opinion on everything but doesn't know her butt from a hot rock and who spread her legs um, more times than you can count. Uh, they're going, no. So again, what does a man need? What does society need? Okay, stop fighting foreign wars, fighting other people's battles. This is about our country, my family, my people, my country. I will protect this. You need to give me an opportunity to earn an honest family wage so I have the finances to have a family. And you know what? I just want enough decent women that I can get married. Because generally the population is 50% men, 50% women. So theoretically, there should be generally enough women to go around, and they should be a generally equal attractiveness. Everybody should find a somewhat equal attractive partner. It should all work, but it's not working.
Of course, it's not working. Women left unto themselves, unrestrained, will always revert back to their most vicious, covetous nature most of the time. And you could call it hypergamy. I just call it the, self, unrestrained, selfish desire, sinful desire. They want the best man they think they can get, and guess what? Because the Chad swiped right on them, they think they should get the millionaire 6 foot tall, 6 pack abs to take care of them, even
So
though they're a chubby 5.
Nick,
What?
does the majority of the population agree with you on your analysis?
Hell no. I don't care.
Well, I know that, but we are outlining differences here. What does half the population think the problem is?
Oh, men aren't men. What happened to men? They're just not men anymore. They're not making good money anymore, and they're not interested in women. And the ones that are interested in women, they're just whoremongers and blah blah blah. They want to play
Okay,
video.
what half of that population? Can you describe that half of the population?
I mean, women and white knights.
Whoa! So we have a divide in this country between men and women and their views on things?
Yeah.
Damn. This
Oh, I
is a
got to put this
battle.
up. You've heard this one, Steve.
Yep.
So what about peanut butter and women? Steve, what is it?
Wait. They both there's something about they both spread easily.
They like to spread them. Yep. They're spread easily. Yep. Either way. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go back to what you're saying was remind me.
Well, it's a battle of the sexes.
Sure. There's been that enmity since the fall.
Right. Should there be a battle of sexes? Well, kind of. But when men were in charge, oh, which would be called the patriarchy, the battle was not as great because men were in charge. No, woman, this is your role. No, you'll be provided for. Yeah, and in general, women were provided for. Women in general did have children. In general, they had pretty good lives. But there were women who were abused. There were women who it didn't work out so well for. Yes, there were women that it did
I'm,
not work out. But for the
I'm
most
arguing it's
part,
actually
it
worse
did.
now for him. I'm actually arguing it's actually worse now.
Yeah, but you know what? It's those poor. We have to destroy what we had, all the good of what we had, to save those poor women who it didn't work out for, even though now it's going to work out for even fewer women that it didn't work out for in the past.
Yeah. Make it make sense, Steve. Oh, you can't. It doesn't make sense. You destroy you destroy the most foundational unit of society, family, to save a few poor women, right?
Well, but you didn't save them.
No, you didn't. In fact, you
You
passed
made
this
more
on to
women
generations.
fall into that less than ideal category.
And you have men that are actually more unruly because they're not restrained by fathers in the home, instead raised by single mothers.
Yeah, and so back to this left, right, left stagger. We bounce from one political uh, theoretical messiah, savior, to another one who promised us, oh, I will save you. And none of them do diddly squat. Nothing changes. And the reason I brought up Gary Stevenson, he's talking about this in the UK. He just got back from France. They're talking about things there. Oh, in Germany, they have the AfD party. Are way right. They got some good ideas. I mean, you got this left right divide everywhere, but no one is really talking about the core issues to get it right of a decent job with a family wage. Uh, just taking care of our own country. No Zionism. And that's not such a big deal in Europe. It's a big deal here. And feminism, which has disrupted the entire foundation of civilization. Nobody is really in the political sphere is willing to come up with a plan because, man, if you did, you'd probably be assassinated.
Means I should run, Steve, because I got nothing left to lose, really. There's a
Yeah,
lot
well,
of men, a lot of good men thinking along the same lines. They really have nothing really left to lose because this sort of system that we're under already took their family, already took their kids, already took their wealth,
well,
took their legacy. Yeah.
at some point, that's likely to happen. You get enough dissatisfied people, especially men, And the nation becomes ungovernable. If men stop caring and doing their jobs, shit stops working.
It's very true. Your
So what kind
infrastructure
of
will
a
go to crap. Your plants won't grow. Stuff won't get delivered. Energy won't flow. The oil won't go. Society will come to a halt. And they say, oh, the women will do it. No, no, no. You're just going to import more foreigners that don't have the restraint that makes up the most of our population here in the United States and the West. And they don't have all this respect for so-called democracy and feminism and all that crap. You think
never
it's getting
mind that.
better under them? No.
Never mind that, Nick. We don't even have to go that far. The roughnecks who drill the oil wells. Let's get rid of all of the men who do that now. Leave the tools and let these new immigrants go and do their job. Oh, the
Right.
power plant operators and linemen, high voltage linemen. Again, let's move them off the job, or let's let them get disgusted and leave. Bring in the new immigrants. Give them the tools. Let them do it. It's not going to work. Do you know? Okay. This is a little controversial, but do you know most of those men that are on the oil rigs and are doing the lineman jobs have the same color skin as I do? A significant percentage have the color of skin of people of Hispanic descent. No, they're Hispanics.
Sure.
There are a few black people, but you remove the guys with the color skin that I have in those jobs, shit's not going to work. Am I wrong, Nick?
No. And chances are, if you take those away, then the other guys will probably leave too. It's not going to work.
You can't disrupt society and expect it to function as well. Okay, why is it still functioning? Well, momentum. Things continue to work because they worked in the past. We're kind of on the slow wind down phase. Man used to really have be respected for the things they did and be able to have a family and kind of a sane, civil, reasonably high trust society, an incentive to do their jobs. It's not quite that same way anymore. We are slowly winding down. And unless it changes, unless we change what's happening, it's going to keep going in the same direction, either slowly or quickly. And unless you want the wealth inequality to change, let's put it this way, the inequality in wealth will not change until the center and the left get a clue. and come up with a story and a solution. And if they keep focusing on this DEI, immigrant, transgender bullshit, it's not going to work. Because you know what? The center is not, that doesn't get people excited about your message. Sorry, not the man.
A lot of these college grads, they said, "Oh man, get into coding, go do this, go get this science degree," and a lot of them, no job prospects. You have men, trained, intelligent men, able to do difficult things, and they can't even get a job.
And they want a job. They're willing to work. They're smart men. They want the chance. They just want what their father said. Decent job, a decent woman, and a country to be proud of.
Guess what, Steve? They're hearing, not just hearing, but they're experiencing. They say, "Oh, that's just you red pill crap." No, 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 no. They're living this. Wife and kids, white picket fence, not available, or as Happy would say, not on the menu. Oh, a decent job with my engineering or software design, whatever programming thing I do, not available. It's not there.
No?
Oh, you mean maybe some people need to figure that out and run off that?
Hopefully.
Yep.
But I've pretty much said what I wanted to say tonight. Talk about people searching or bouncing off of who's feeding them full of shit now, being disappointed, and then someone else feeding them full of shit. Oh, I'll go follow them. And neither side is really fixing anything. And nobody has put together the proper message that really will accomplish anything. It's a clusterfuck. Clusterfuck in the political realm.
Right, Steve. I agree. We didn't go too extreme tonight. I thought we could have gone further. Oh well.
Well, where did you want to go that we didn't go, Nick?
Oh, I don't really care. I think we covered the message. There's no need. No need. No stirring up a hornet's nest more than necessary.
Yeah,
I do that.
I think we handled these themes in a mostly unbiased way. And the important thing is to call them out and identify them. They are these three themes: jobs, Zionism, feminism. You got to deal with it. If you don't, young men are not going to be interested.
Well, what are we doing Saturday?
I don't know.
Well, go guys, join us Saturday at Elena's Bar Fitness at 9:15 a.m. Pacific, 11:15 a.m. Central, 12:15 p.m. Eastern. I'm sure we'll have a very interesting topic or topics to talk about and have lots of fun. And tune in to us next week on Wednesday. I'm not sure. Excuse me. Not sure who's leading it next week, but I think it might be Plutarch's turn.
Might be.
Yep. So please join us next week here at the Resurgence of Sanity on Wednesday at 7:45 p.m. Central, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, 5:45 p.m. Pacific. And with that, I hope you all have a good night. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Bye.
There was a firefight! Son of a bitch!